Edgar, bad luck. I'm sure this is not the outcome that you wanted, but what positives can you take out of this loss?
No, I think we clearly can see a much more improved effort from last weekend to this weekend. There's been a massive stride, a massive progress in our style of play, also in just how in the effort of that we've put in. We're really proud union, and I think we've really made a massive improvement in terms of work rate and ability to improve from last performance.
I know you said about the URC, but
yes,
a lot of these guys won't be available next weekend. Are you still positive going into next weekend?
No, absolutely. I think as a franchise, we've done it like this way from last year till this year as well. I think last year we were fortunate enough to get into the semi-finals and also could have played in the final, and we've done it the same way this year. And we're pushing on forward. We're fighting valiantly, and we'll fight again next week as well against the Cheetahs at Bloemfontein.
You can't be happy about the defence again, especially the first half. There's a few real slip-ups on defence.
No, I think the transition defence is something that caught us last week, and I think as well today. I think we were really playing, and I think we're really putting a lot of possession, a lot of phases together. But the transition is a little bit letting us down. Where we're on the go forward, we 30, 40 meters away from the try line, and they get sort of like intercept, or they get something, and it's 60, 70 meter tries.
Then in the breakdowns, I mean, same thing, slip-ups on the breakdowns, and then the old thing of all the Bulls teams. They get into the red zone, just have to finish and then turn over.
No, I'm glad you've mentioned that. I think we really were much more improved in our ability to get into that red zone. I think we were there. We camped sometime, put a whole camper and a whole tent there in the thing, and then they came back and they scored one of those miracle tries. But I mean, great improvement from last week, and we're looking forward to next week. I think if we can see the improvement we've done over the last 7 days, I think hopefully we look forward to the next 7 days.
Hi, Jake. Hi, Edgar. Edgar, at one stage, I mean, the guys fought back to lead 33-25 actually in the second half. What do you think went wrong from there?
No, I think Ashfaq, just our ability to control certain moments. I think in most of the game, we really were playing the better rugby. We had all the possession. We're really dominating the contact and the go forward and going forward. And just once again, in terms of just transition and just a couple of glimpses and probably just in the breakdown and transition. I mean, it sounds like I'm telling you this again, but I think we're really much more improved. But I think those transition moments just cost us again today.
And do you think that maybe at times the guys got sucked into Province's style of play? You know, they were counter-attacking, able to go at full time. I mean, all the time. Whereas you guys seem to get a lot of progress out of keeping it tight and playing with the forwards, and you got some dominance there.
No, I think Ashfaq, I think in terms of the style of rugby we're playing, I think we're a much more possession-based side, and we're really giving it all, moving from side to side, really trying to bash the front door down and also see what they have in the width. And they were just playing on the counter-attack the whole time. With Blomikis was really good tonight, and they had the counter-attack opportunities.
Thank you, Jake. Thank you, Edgar. Jake, either you or Edgar can answer this. It's similar to what I asked John. They seem to be contrasting. When the Stormers have backs to the wall, they just go out and they play. They seem to have more freedom. The Bulls, in contrast, seem to almost go into their shells. I don't want to say they become scared or conservative, but they seem to be almost unwilling to play when they go into the lead and they get the. Am I correct in saying that, or am I missing the point in the boat here?
No, look, Jan. I mean, I wouldn't want to tell you that we played from everywhere. I mean, we did play at times. We played really well. I think what's important, I mean, no one's asked me, but the reason I'm here is as director of rugby. This week, I basically took this group of players. I wanted to use it as an opportunity for next week. So that's why it would be unfair for Edgar to take all the sort of negativity of this result. Chatted to a few people post the game. I think, it's no excuse. I'm trying to reflect and be philosophical about where we are as a group. I mean, we've basically, as I said last week, we've been dominating, as a union for the last 3 seasons. Juniors, seniors, Currie Cups, URC finals, Super Rugby unlocked. I sort of think, well, what's gone wrong? And I suppose the answer for me is I was sick in December, and again, it's not an excuse. I probably was a little bit disconnected from the group. I thought, and this is my call, so I thought changing the group, changing the team, giving some guys time off. Last year was just too tough for everybody just to back up every week. As much as it worked, we played Wednesday, Saturdays, and that group played incredible rugby at the back end of last year. So I suppose, Jan, what I wanted to say to you guys is, philosophically, those decisions are mine. If I'd been sitting here, played the same group of players every week, and we were losing, I'd be saying to you, she's probably my fault because I should be changing the team, And anyone who watches sport will see last week they played this group of players, they played really well again. So some would say, why don't you keep the same group together because you get a bit of cohesion? There's never exact science here. So, and I think like anything, when you get into a spiral, either winning or losing, players in any sport, players they might not admit that they go into their shells, but I think sometimes it happens, and it's definitely not. It's not who we want to be. It's not what we coach. But I think again, it's first time as a group, and everyone included, we're probably a little bit under pressure. And it's different pressure to what we, obviously what we've ever experienced as a group. We've just got to make sure we get through this. I mean, it doesn't mean it can change in 1 week. It just means we're going to have to get through this as a group, as a union.
As a group, what would the benefit be? Would you get that ring rustiness out of it? Do you think that would be the benefit of having done this week? And last 2 Currie Cup games in a row.
Yeah, Jan. I mean, that is what I'm hoping the benefit is. Now they've got some contact under their belts. Next week we play Ulster. It's going to be a tough game again. As I said, I'd like to just become philosophical to myself about it. I'm the guy in charge. I've got to make decisions. Most of the decisions I've made in the last couple of years have worked in our favour. As I said, maybe me being sick. And again, I'm not blaming it, but maybe I just lost a little bit of, maybe if I was with the team the whole time, I might have changed my mind and said, forget it, let's play the strongest team every week and see whether we can fuss bait, But there's a longer term picture for me, Jan. I mean, I'm trying to develop a team that doesn't go from 1 year, you can't play the same guys. I'm looking for, again, philosophically, you lose Marcel Coetzee, you lose Walt Steenkamp, you lose Arno Botha, you lose Madosh Tamwe, And I know in hindsight, you didn't have Kanan and Kirkley today, and I know that other teams don't have that, but maybe the significant losses we have in terms of our personnel have been much bigger impact to our group of players. So, as I said, I'm trying to be philosophical and work out in my head, how can you go from being so dominant and so, and so good and so, as you say, brave to play, into being at times, looking like, that they're uncohesive, something's missing. And I suppose that I'm sort of talking in circles, Jan, but, I just got to try and find out what it is that we're missing, and then part of my job will, as I said, make sure we try and get it right.
Last question to all those who are busy writing you off. I mean, I know the Stormers are really, and I just spoke to John now, and probably saw, they're really doing well. All the teams are very cohesive. And to all the guys that are busy writing you off, what would your message be to, or they say, call them the naysayers?
Yeah, I suppose, there's nothing I can say. I mean, the reality is, I think anyone who watches sport will know that when you're on a roll and it's going well for you, then you get massive amounts of confidence. If it's not going well for you, then you struggle with confidence. I mean, so, as I said, there will always be those guys, and we have supporters, and supporters want to win, and as I said, we want to make them proud as well. But sometimes, we also have to be man enough to admit that sometimes the decisions we made, and I'm the guy that made those decisions, have either worked or they haven't worked. And I think the only way we're going to find out, Jan, is when we get to the end of all the campaigns, whether it's the Currie Cup campaign, whether it's the URC and the Heineken Cup campaigns, then we'll have to sit back and say, right, what did we do wrong? And if there were things that I've done wrong, then we'll have to improve them. So, yeah, I mean, I think you'd understand because you've watched. The changes they've made have worked. The depth the kind of personnel they're using has worked. Sometimes, as I said, sometimes you get it right, sometimes you get it wrong, and we've just got to. I mean, it's not over yet. We've still got Ulster and we've still got Zebra and Leinster. We've got to try and make sure we get results there to get into the playoffs. You know, we've got a massive game against Toulouse, massive. I mean, probably historically the strongest Heineken Cup team that's ever played. I'm talking about as a union and as a club. You know, so there's going to be a great lot of learning that's going to happen here, winning or losing in all these fixtures. So, yeah, I'm just very lucky. I mean, I'm saying very lucky in that I've got people above me and people around me that understand that sport works like that. It's not a pleasant time. It's not a pleasant time for anybody. And I reinforce. That's why I thought it's only right I come. I can't expect a coach who had nothing to do with this group of players this week. And not because any other reason, because I wanted to use this week to prepare for next week, because of the importance of what's coming in the next couple of weeks in the URC.
Hi, Jack. Just on that point, how important is it for you as the leader of the organization, you know, on the rugby end, to take that responsibility, having a young coach like Edgar, you know, looking up to you, and having young players as well, looking at how, you know, you've done well, but now you're in a tough patch, how you respond to the tough patch, you know, how important is it for you then to be the one to take responsibility?
Well, Sabu, I mean, that's why I'm here. I mean, it would be hell of unfair for me to push Edgar under the bus. You know, last week we weren't good. Again, maybe the changes I made, maybe the thought I had by bringing in some new Currie Cup coaches, maybe the handover hasn't been as good as it could have been. And I'll give you an example. Maybe in hindsight, we should have broken the squads up earlier, sent our Currie Cup squad on a tour, say, to Namibia, or, you know, as a sort of place where they can develop as a group. And again, that's why it's important that if I'm going to head up the rugby program and I'm going to head up the decisions that either make or break, you know, the team or the combinations we have, then I've got to be man enough to tell you, you know. So, yeah, I mean, I'm responsible for it. It's not working. It's not working. I thought that the way we were going to do it was going to work. It's not working. There's nothing I can do. I mean, I can't rewind and play the same side. I can't rewind and not give them off and keep them together. So we'll just have to, you know, we'll have to group together as a group, coaches in terms of Currie Cup, URC, and see what we need to do, you know, going forward. So, and going forward as in short term, and going forward as in long term as well, because, you know, there's going to be some decisions that we're going to have to make in terms of where we want to be. We don't, you know, we don't want to be like this every season. We want to make sure whatever we learn out of this makes us stronger.
Yeah, gents, greetings from the left side of the Atlantic. Okay, so it's rugby. Last game's over. Everyone's asking about, you know, what's happened. But looking forward, as you said, you've got a lot going on here next week. You've got the Cheetahs in Currie Cup. You've got the Champions Cup coming up in April. You've still got URC. You've got to keep that going there. At some point, Jake, is it up to the veterans to play a role here too? I mean, you've got some deep names there, a lot of experience, a lot of Springbok caps. You've got Bismarck. You've got Mornay. You've got Cornell Hendricks with a lot of time under his belt. Do they play a role in helping overcome this? Because you could see at the end of the game that Ruan Nortkia, when he was interviewed, was really down about the result tonight. It's got to be difficult, and that's not on him. So my question is, do the veterans need to step up and help these other guys, you know, get past this game? That's over. Let's move on to the next game.
Yes, I think that's part of it. I think that the one thing we don't want is just to think that you move on and there's no reflection of how it was. And that's my point I was saying to you earlier, Chris, is that as the guy who heads up the rugby program, I've got to look and see what's working and what's not working. I can't always pass the blame to players and, you know, and obviously to coaches that are around me. And I'm reinforcing the decisions I've made, having looked back. Should I have played the same team? But I just felt, and you know, Christmas playing the Stormers, New Year playing Durban against the Sharks, full strength team, then going to Leon, then coming back, then going to Exeter. I genuinely thought that we needed to refresh people. I genuinely thought bringing in some seniors and juniors, to answer your question, and getting that balance right would work. And it does work. I mean, it does work. If you look what the Stormers have done tonight with Clayton Blomachi's playing at fullback, you know, with the inexperienced wingers against him, bringing in a guy who was at school last year, Sherwood came on. So having seniors and juniors does work. In our case, it hasn't worked. And I suppose what I'm saying, Chris, we'll have to reflect and see what it is. But, you know, everyone's going to have to be part of it. I don't think it's just the veteran players. I don't think it's just the senior players. It's the coaches. It's the young guys who are part of this now as well. It's a collective thing about understanding where we want to be and where we are. And you know, the one thing I've always said since I've been coaching anywhere is you're either winning or you're learning. And this is a learning thing for us as well. You're not always going to, not always going to get the high road. Sometimes you're going to get the low road as well. So, yeah, I hope I've answered your question, Chris. It's a collective thing for everybody.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Jake. This one's for Edgar. Edgar, at this game, if you look at this objectively, whether you're a Province or a Bulls fan, supporter, if you look at this game, it was a seesaw game, back and forth. They jumped out in front of you 10 points, but the Bulls held in there. They came back and they took control of the game for a bit. It got away from you late. Is there a point in the game when you were feeling pretty good about their performance, or it kind of got away from you, or something that maybe that stood out that you guys could focus on for the next one?
No, I think Chris was to come back from being behind to come forward to 33-25 at a time, if I'm correct. To be that at that point in the game, I thought really that we could really come back and make a big difference going forward, and unfortunately the game slipped from us towards the end, where we couldn't convert opportunities in the red zone in the last couple of minutes of the game.
Thank you. My question is just for Edgar. Edgar, we all know, in Blake said it, you're on a journey of development as a coach and stuff. And I'm not talking here about the game itself, this specific game, but what are the lessons that you are busy learning as you sit next to Blake, as you've got all these other guys around you, as a person and as a coach? What are the lessons that you're busy learning?
No, I think I'm learning to be to learn that life isn't always on the high roads, that you've also got to take the low roads, and sometimes you've got to walk on the dirt track. Sometimes I think last year we all were flying high as the Vodacom Bulls in terms of under 90s, under 20, under 21s, Currie Cup, URC, and sometimes this year we're facing a difficult one this weekend. But it's not the end of the world. I think we've got it really is difficult for our supporters at the moment. But we still got Ulster. We still got Ulster next weekend. We've got Toulouse, and we're still in round 3 of the Currie Cup. So it's not the end of the world, and we've just got to graft, and we've got to walk the dirt road.
Jake, it's very honourable for you to take the blame of everything that's gone wrong and everything. But a young touch on the players that doesn't play with confidence.
Yeah.
John Dobson said we should have lost the game if it wasn't with the amount of heart that the Stormers played.
Yeah.
Or that the Western Province played. Aren't you looking at the wrong place for this sport?
No, because the same guys have come back last year and the year before and won games. They beat Leinster away. What I'm saying is they've shown me that they do have heart, and it's easy. It's obviously Dobson can say what he likes because you're winning. When you're winning, it's easy to say that we've got heart. The other team don't have heart. So. Yeah, I know. To be honest with you, Carl, I don't think I can blame the players. Obviously, there's some things you can tell me tonight. We made 1 or 2 mistakes, and again, some players made silly mistakes, and that's the frustrating thing. Elric Lowe, I use example on the halfway line, he offloads. They run 60 meters and go and score. Then he offloads right underneath the poles there, and but if that pass sticks, we score and we win the game. So. So then when you say to me, are they scared to play? Well, why is he offloading 1 meter from the try line if they're scared to play? So I think this group has shown me, and I'm not going to push them under the bus either, they've shown me as a group that whenever I've asked them in the past to front up, whenever I've asked them to, we beat Western Province at Newlands with 14 men. We got a red card and beat them. So it's the same group of players. And all I'd say is, where were Western Province what were they saying then? When they played 15 men, 15 versus 14 and lost, it happens in sport. That's what I'm trying to say to you. So, I don't think it's not a case of being admirable about what I'm telling you. I'm looking back philosophically at what happened. I think that the decisions are made to rest players, the decisions are made to give them off, probably lacked our cohesion, especially for the changes that we had to make and the personnel we lost. That's all I'm saying, philosophically. And it's easy in hindsight, Carl. That's all I'm saying. In hindsight, should we have kept Madosh for another year? Could we have kept Arnu for another year? Should I have let Walt stay? I'm trying to think aloud. But if I was sitting here and I had all those players and we were losing, then some guys would say to me, why don't you give the other guys a chance? Why don't you try and blood some youngsters? So, I'm not for 1 minute saying, there are a lot of things that I have to look at the program. I have to look at what decisions I made, and some of them have worked, some of them haven't worked. The ones that haven't worked, we've got to make sure we just don't make those mistakes again going forward.
Jake, one last one on that point. The one guy you should have kept maybe is Joey Mugale.
Yeah.
Last year you had a very good defensive record.
Yeah.
I mean, and all of a sudden there's big score.
Yeah, well, two things, Chris. I'm going to answer that quickly for you. One is we were 12th in defence out of 16. So we weren't the best. We were the worst in the top 8 as well. So it's not really true what you're saying. Yeah, so it's not true what you're saying. I mean, our defence would have had to be changed anyway, you know. So that's the first bit. Second bit is Joey wanted to be a head coach, and he wanted to go and coach on his own. Now, you know, he had a contract, and he wanted to go and coach on his own, and he's now coaching on his own. So sometimes what happens is when you have good teams and you have good squads and you have good success, you lose people. You know, Arnu went because he was doing well at the Bulls. You know, Joey went because he was doing well at the Bulls. So it's you know, one of the things, and I say this to you because I know you're going to ask me, but I coached with Alistair Coetzee, became the Bok coach. I coached with Gert Smal, he became the Irish forwards coach. I coached with Scott Wisemantle at Montpellier, he became the Australian and England backs coach. I coached with lots and lots of people that have left organisations I've been with to move on. And I think that's also part of being a head coach and a director of rugby, is to allow people to grow. So it's not, you know, I don't think that we are where we are now. We've lost personnel as well. And you're right. Some of it has been coaching personnel. Some of it has been player personnel. And philosophically, you know, I don't think we could have found a way to keep everyone together, because we might be sitting here with all those guys and still not winning. And then I'd say to you, you know, what happened?
My actual question is, will we see a new defence coach or specialist?
Yes.
In this season, or
no. Look, again, I think it would be hell of unfair because of the way it's going now to say, listen, someone's head's got to roll. You know, I think one of the things, Chris, that we've seen in sport is you've got to afford people the time to get it right. But will we see changes? Of course we will. I mean, Nollis and Pine's contracts come up for renewal. They haven't been extended, and I'm not talking out of school. Everyone knows about it. Means there has to be a change in the senior group. Edgar's helping learn now as a coach, and he's learning more now. He's in his mid-30s. He's learning more about rugby now in these weeks than most coaches learn, and that's part of it for me too, Chris. I mean, I think one of the things that we need to do in South Africa, and especially at the Bulls, is groom coaches to become better coaches. And sometimes when you go through difficult times, you grow as a coach as well, just like a player, you know. But you will see changes, and I mean, we're going to fire anybody. We're going to have to get it right, then do a review, and then see what we need to change. And maybe, I mean, one year remember the All Blacks went on a tour and they changed all their coaches' roles. They made the forwards coach, the backs coach, the backs coach, the forwards coach, the breakdown coach, the attack coach. And the reason they did that is for them to appreciate what it's like to do a different role. So who knows? You know, we'll have a look at the end of the season and review, and then we'll make a decision what we think is best for us as a group. Yes.
As ek miskien net iets kan sê, as jy kyk na die laaste 3 jaar, ons juniors, onder 19, onder 20, onder 21, baie goed gevaar.
Ja.
Is dit nie dalk 'n beter strategie om aparte Currie span juist om daai kontinuïteit, die combinaties van spelers te vestig saam met die wapenverspan. Jy gaan dalk in die eerste jaar gaan jy dalk sukkel, maar dit gaan, ek dink dit is nou wat in die Stormers nou.
Ja, maar kom ek stel dit vir jou. Ek wil nie jou borrel bars nie, maar ek gaan vir jou sê, dit gaan nie werk nie. Because al wat jy gaan doen is jy gaan geleentheid skep vir jong ouetjies tussen die ouderdom van 21 en 22, 23. Hulle gaan dan die land verlaat om in ander klubs te gaan speel. So jy gaan nooit daai span kan bou vir 3, 4, 5 jaar nie. Because dis presies wat gebeur. Elke keer as hulle goed doen in 'n kompetisie en ek praat en hulle kry geleentheid, dan gaan hulle oor see. So, en onthou, elke span wat dit probeer verlede jaar om daai junior spanne bymekaar te hou, het nie eers gekwalify vir die uitspelwedstryde nie. So WP het dit probeer, Lions het dit probeer, en ek dink Natal het dit probeer. En al 3 van daai groot unies het nie eers deurgekom na die semifinaals toe. So ja, ek dink dit is maklik om te sê, kan ons dit nie so doen nie en daai span bymekaar hou. Dis moeilik om 'n URC span jy weet saam te hou vir 'n paar jare. So om 'n Currie span nou heeltemal apart te maak en te dink jy gaan hulle hou vir 3, 4, 5 jaar. Al wat jy gaan doen, jy gaan geleenthede skep vir 'n jong ouetjie wat dan daai CV kan gebruik om nog 'n geleentheid te kry oor see. En dis, jy weet, dis nou deel van, en ek sê dit elke week vir julle, dis deel van die harde werk wat agter die skerms gaan om seker te maak ons kan 'n squad bou vir 'n langtermyn. En ek sê dit vir julle, Koos, ek moes daai ander manne speel. Ek moet daai ander manne wat 'n kontrak het, ek moet hom speel. Verstaan jy? Nou het dit gewerk, miskien nee, nee. Sou ek anders dit sou gedoen het? Nee, dus ek dink ek moes dit gedoen het. En ek dink ek is heeltemal 100% seker. As ek vanaand hierso was en ons het dieselfde spelers gespeel van November maand tot nou toe, het ek presies dieselfde probleem gehad met baie ongelukkige spelers in die kleedkamer wat nooit 'n geleentheid kry om te speel nie. So ja, dis maar 'n moeilike een en ek sê dit weer, ek aanvaar dis my rol, ek aanvaar dis my keuse, ek aanvaar dis die call wat ek gemaak het. Miskien het ek deur daai tyd toe ek siek was gedink dit sou gewerk het en miskien omdat ek nie saam met die span was bietjie voel ek nou miskien sou ek dit anders te omgedoen het, maar dis net omdat daar druk is. Verstaan jy? Dis hoe dit is. Nou is dit maklik om vir julle te sê, "Sjies, ek moes dit so gehou het," jy weet, maar jy weet nooit nie.
Your last year on a positive note, or you can do it in English also. What do we say in the media for the Bulls supporters? Will you still be there in the final of the URC? Will you still be there in the final of the Currie
Okay,
Cup?
let me say this to you, Chris. Nothing's going to change in that when you enter a competition, and we've always been like it since we've been here, from the under-19s to the top competition, you enter it to win it. And that's why you put teams on the field that you think should be good enough. So you don't pick a team that you feel has got no chance of winning the competition. So my answer to you is yes. But I want to ask you this question. Leinster last year won everything. And when it got to the playoffs, they ended up not winning a trophy. Now, no one's won anything yet. No one's won anything yet. No Currie Cup champion this year, no URC champion, no Heineken Cup champion. Now, maybe, it's not going well for the Bulls and we don't get to where we want to get to. But no one's won. So who knows? Maybe some teams that are flying now get to the end of the tournament and they still win nothing. And you know, the bottom line is, I'm not wishing bad on anybody. I'm saying, everyone's saying, hulle kan nie, maar wie het besluit, almal kan wen. I mean, daar's nog steeds baie games wat kan gebeur. En jy moet iets wen. Jy weet, as jy nou derde eindig en jy verloor in die semifinal van die URC, dan wen jy presies wat ons wen, as ons agste eindig en ons verloor in die kwart eindig. So,